EntreLeadership, 20 Years of Practical Business Wisdom from the Trenches by Dave Ramsey. Ever been broke? And I mean really broke? Not just, I can't go out this weekend broke. I'm talking lights get shut off broke. Foreclosure notice on your door broke. The kind of broke where you're looking at your kids and wondering how you're going to feed them tomorrow. Ever been broken? Like, soul-crushed broken, where you've poured everything you have, your sweat, your dreams, your entire bank account, into something you believed in, only to watch it all crumble right before your eyes. 20-something years ago, Dave Ramsey was both. Picture this, a cocky young real estate hotshot, self-made millionaire with a portfolio worth over $4 million, living the dream, right? The kind of guy you'd see and think, man, he's got it all figured out. But here's the thing about building empires on mountains of debt. When the bank comes calling, everything collapses. Fast. He spent the next 2.5 years watching his world disintegrate. Lawsuits, foreclosures, bankruptcy, the works. And there he sat, with a newborn baby, a toddler, and a marriage barely holding together. Completely broken, utterly broken. It's the kind of place where dreams go to die, where most people would just give up. But for Dave, hitting rock bottom wasn't the end of his story. It was the beginning. The moment he decided to completely surrender and rebuild his entire life on a foundation of timeless, rock-solid principles. And that's the story we're diving into today. This isn't just some feel-good comeback tale. This is the blueprint for building one of America's most successful and genuinely unusual companies. The playbook that took him from a folding card table in his living room to leading a company with hundreds of team members and millions in revenue. What you're about to discover are the secrets of EntreLeadership, a word Dave invented to describe something powerful, the pioneering fire of an entrepreneur fused with the humble heart of a true leader. By the time we're done, you'll understand how to build a business and a life that doesn't just win financially but wins with soul. You'll learn how to inspire people, make the tough calls, and create a culture where people actually love what they do. This is the playbook, written in blood, sweat, and tears, for anyone who wants to build something that actually lasts. So, where do you even start when you've lost everything? For Dave, it began with complete surrender. He decided that from that moment forward, every single part of his life and his new business would run on simple, common-sense principles. Stuff like treating people the way you want to be treated. The power of hard work and integrity. Sounds almost too simple, right? But in a world that constantly rewards shortcuts and selfishness, sticking to these principles is actually revolutionary. He started his new company on a folding card table in his living room, counseling people one-on-one about handling their money. When he got too swamped, he had to hire his first employee. But here's where it gets interesting. He absolutely hated the word employees. In his mind, employees were people who showed up late, left early, and maybe stole a few office supplies while they were at it. They didn't care. They didn't have the same fire he did. So right from day one, he made a decision he wouldn't have employees, he would have team members. Just a word, you're thinking. But words shape reality. He insisted that everyone in his growing company use that phrase. More importantly, he demanded they act like a team, be givers, not takers. Join a cause, not just collect a paycheck. This was the first seed of an entirely new kind of company culture. As his little company grew from 1 person to 7, then more, something terrifying dawned on him. The business was officially bigger than he was. He couldn't do everything himself anymore. He had to learn to let go. He had to develop other leaders. For a control-freak entrepreneur who'd been stacking his own boxes and answering his own phones, this felt like an emotional earthquake. How could he trust someone else to care about his dream the way he did? He needed to figure out how to duplicate the spirit that was making his company successful. But what was that spirit exactly? One morning, sitting in his office before sunrise, he tried to work it out. Was he trying to grow more leaders? He thought about the great leaders he admired. What words described them? Integrity, humble, visionary, decisive, a servant. Beautiful qualities, all of them, but leader felt a little too corporate, too dry. It didn't capture the fire, the risk-taking, the raw passion that had fueled him. Okay then, maybe he was trying to grow more entrepreneurs? He rolled that word around. What comes to mind? Risk-taker, passionate, driven, creative, a maverick. Then he imagined a company full of people exactly like him, and he shuddered. It would be like herding cats on caffeine, total chaos. A building full of entrepreneurs would be an absolute disaster. Growing leaders felt too tame. Growing entrepreneurs felt too wild. And then, in that moment of clarity, a new idea was born. He needed both, a fusion of the best of both worlds. And so he coined the term, the EntreLeader. An EntreLeader is a rare breed. They're disciplined risk-takers, courageous, yet humble, motivated visionaries who are also fiercely loyal. They have the pioneering spirit of an entrepreneur, polished, with the heart of a servant leader. This wasn't just a clever name. It became the North Star for his entire company. The kind of person he wanted to become, the kind of person he wanted to hire, and the kind of person he wanted to develop. And this brings us to the very first and maybe most important principle of EntreLeadership. It's what John Maxwell calls the law of the lid. The law is brutally simple. Your organization can never grow beyond you. You are the lid. Your character, your vision, your education, your capacity. These things put a ceiling on your business, your team, your future. Want to know what's holding your dreams back? Go look in the mirror. That's the bad news. But here's the good news. If you're the problem, you're also the solution. And you're the one person you can change most easily. Dave tells this story from his early days as a leader that nails this point. He had about 14 people on his team, and he was getting absolutely furious about people showing up late. To him, it was simple. If you're not on time, you're stealing from the company. He couldn't understand why his team didn't share his urgency. So one freezing Monday morning, with the temperature at 16 degrees, he moved 14 chairs out onto the sidewalk for the staff meeting. He gave a whole talk about showing up on time and told them that if they didn't all start doing the work of 2 people, they were all going to be out in the cold. It's a funny story now, but he looks back on it with genuine shame. That wasn't leadership, that was bad parenting. Leading through fear and anger doesn't create a team of warriors. It creates a team of terrified 2-year-olds. The problem with his company then, and now, he says, is him. And the problem with your company, your team, your project, is you. A business owner once cornered him, red-faced and insistent that the problem with his drywall business was his horrible employees. They were all lazy slackers. Dave's response was simple and brutal. Those turkey employees are your fault. You hired them, and worse, you kept them. Your problems in business are your fault. That's the heavy weight of leadership, but it's also the source of your power. Because you can decide right now to grow. You can decide who you want to be and get busy becoming that person. And this journey from mere boss to true EntreLeader begins with transforming your dreams into reality. It starts with dreaming. We all dream. But some people dream and then stop. We call them dreamers. And it's not usually a compliment. An EntreLeader has big dreams, but they understand that roasted duck doesn't just fly through your window, perfectly cooked. You have to get up, leave the cave, hunt the duck, and bring it home. The first step in hunting the duck is taking that big, fuzzy dream and giving it clarity. When a dream starts to take shape, it becomes a vision. Helen Keller once said, "The most pathetic person in the world is someone who has sight but no vision." Vision is the ability to see what could be. The Bible says, where there is no vision, the people perish. Think about that word, perish, die, roadkill. Without a clear vision, your business will perish, your marriage will perish, your finances will perish. Vision is the lifeblood of anything alive and growing. But vision alone isn't enough. You need a guardrail, a compass, to make sure your vision points in the right direction. That's where a mission statement comes in. A mission statement is your vision, clarified and defined. It answers 3 crucial questions. 1. What do we do? Your skills and abilities. 2. How do we do it? Your personality and style. 3. Why do we do it? Your values, dreams, and passions. The why is the most important part. It's the soul of your organization. Dave's company mission statement is to provide biblically based, common-sense education and empowerment that gives hope to everyone. They capitalize hope because that is their why. When someone in the shipping department sends out a book, they aren't shipping paper and ink, they're shipping hope. When someone in maintenance cleans the building, they're creating a place where hope can be delivered with excellence. Every single job, from the boss to the person answering phones, ties back to that central mission. It creates unity, gives value to every role, and keeps everyone focused on the same goal. A mission statement isn't just about what you are. It's also about what you aren't. It draws the out-of-bounds lines for your business. One of the leading causes of small business failure is actually success. When you become successful, a flood of opportunities comes your way. Without a clear mission statement, you can easily get distracted, chase some shiny object, and lose focus on the one thing you do best. Your mission statement protects you from yourself. So you've got a dream, you've clarified it into a vision, and you've directed it with a mission statement. Now it's time to actually do something. This is where goals come in. Goals are dreams with work clothes on. They're where theory ends and the heavy lifting begins. And for goals to actually work, they must have 5 specific components. Miss any one of these, and you don't have a goal, you have a wish. First, goals must be specific and measurable. I want to lose weight isn't a goal. I want to lose 30 pounds is a goal. I want to make more money isn't a goal. I want to make $100,000 is a goal. You have to be able to measure your progress. Second, goals must have a time limit. A goal without a deadline is just a dream that'll die of regret. I want to lose 30 pounds isn't enough. I want to lose 30 pounds in 3 months is a real goal. Why? Because now you can break it down. That's 10 pounds a month. 2.5 pounds a week. Now you have a daily action plan. Third, the goals must be your goals. They can't be your wife's goals for you or your dad's goals for you. Big goals require big backbone. You simply won't get up at dawn for a 3-mile run because someone else wants you to. The motivation has to burn from within. It has to come from you caring deeply about the result. Fourth, and this is the one almost everyone skips, goals must be in writing. There's a mysterious power unleashed when you take a thought out of your head and put it on paper. It becomes real. It becomes a blueprint. It's nearly impossible to build something magnificent without a written plan. Back in 1993, Dave was frustrated. He was counseling people one-on-one, showing them how to budget, but they were still failing. He realized personal finance isn't a math problem, it's a behavior problem. One meeting wasn't enough to change habits. So one morning, while brainstorming and writing down his goals, he wrote a simple sentence: develop a high-touch support group concept that is a seminar and counseling. That one written sentence became what's now known as Financial Peace University, a class that millions of people have gone through, changing millions of lives. It all started with a written goal on a cheap piece of paper. This isn't just about personal goals. This is how you lead a team. But you don't push goals onto people. You pull them into a shared vision. When leadership sets goals by themselves, they aren't goals. They're quotas, and nobody likes quotas. Instead, you cast a big vision for the team, get them excited about the why, and then you ask each person to craft what part of that goal they're going to contribute. When goals are shared, they create instinctive communication and powerful unity. Think of a football team. The goal is simple and shared: get the ball into the end zone. When the quarterback fumbles, the 300-pound lineman doesn't stand there and say, "That's not my job." He knows the goal. He dives on the ball. He does whatever it takes for the team to win. Companies all over America are failing because they're filled with people who only care about themselves, who constantly say, "It's not my job." That happens when there's no clearly communicated, shared goal that everyone's bought into. So you've got your goals written down, you have a plan, but then the day starts. And life happens. Ever worked your tail off all day, putting out fire after fire, only to get home completely exhausted, with no idea what you actually accomplished? It's a terrible feeling, like you're a rat on a wheel, running as fast as you can but getting absolutely nowhere. John Maxwell says a budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. Time management is the exact same thing. You'll either tell your day what to do, or you'll wonder where it went. The key to mastering your time is understanding the difference between urgent and important. Dr. Stephen Covey explains that all of our time is spent in one of 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1 is things that are important and urgent. Crises, deadlines, paying payroll. We're all pretty good at these. We have to be. Quadrant 4 is not important and not urgent. Time wasting, mindlessly scrolling on your phone, watching TV reruns. Most productive people avoid this. The real battle for your time and your success happens in the middle 2 quadrants. Quadrant 3 is urgent but not important. This is the great deceiver. It's the constant ding of an email notification. It's the ringing phone you feel compelled to answer, even though it's never for you. The urgency of these items makes them feel important, but they're really distractions pulling you away from your real work. As your business grows, you have to learn to delegate or avoid these things. You must spend your time working on the things that only you can do. And that brings us to the magic quadrant. Quadrant 2, this is where champions are made. Quadrant 2 is for things that are important but not urgent. What kind of things? Exercise, strategic planning, reading a book like this one, building relationships with your team, date night with your spouse. These are the building blocks of a high-quality life and a high-quality business. But because they aren't screaming for your attention, they're the first things we let slide. But here's the secret. If you neglect Quadrant 2 activities for too long, they eventually become Quadrant 1 crises. If you don't make time for exercise, you'll eventually have to make time for heart surgery. If you don't make time for date night, you'll eventually have to make time for marriage counseling. The best way to control your day is with a simple, prioritized to-do list. Spend 15 minutes every morning planning your day on paper. First, list everything you need to do. Then go through the list and put an A next to the items that must be done today. Put a B next to things that should be done. The rest get a C. Now look at all your A items and number them by priority. What's the single most important thing you must accomplish today? That becomes A1. The next most important is A2, and so on. Then do the same for your B's and C's. Your A1 is what Dave calls your steak sauce. It's the thing that gives flavor and substance to your day. You must protect your steak sauce. When a coworker leans in your doorway with a problem that's really just a distraction, you have to ask yourself, is this more important than my A1? Usually it's not. This system gives you a measuring stick for your day. It helps you manage your activities, and when you manage your activities, the results take care of themselves. Now we get to one of the hardest parts of leadership, making the call. A leader who can't or won't make decisions will never succeed. Indecisive leader is an oxymoron. Your business, your family, and your team are paralyzed when you are. It's like saying, ready, aim, aim, aim. You never fire. You drive your most talented people crazy, and you eventually lose them. So what causes this paralysis? Almost always, it's fear. Fear of making the wrong choice. Fear of failure. Fear of criticism. In Dave's company, they have a core value. We do not make decisions based on fear. They acknowledge the fear, they respect the potential consequences, but they don't allow fear to be the driving factor. To defeat indecision, you need a system. First, set a deadline. If a natural deadline doesn't exist, impose one on yourself. An axe hanging over your dream has a wonderful way of focusing your mind and forcing you to get to work. Second, take the right amount of time. Big decisions deserve big time. Little decisions should be made instantly. Don't spend an hour deciding on a pack of gum. But if you're signing a 10-year lease, you better become a real estate expert. Third, gather lots of options. Options are power. Options remove fear. If you feel trapped between two bad choices, it means you don't have enough options. Your job is to go find a third, fourth, or fifth option. Fourth, ask yourself, what's the worst-case scenario? Once you emotionally accept the absolute worst thing that can happen and realize you probably won't die from it, it frees you up to make the call. And this brings us to the most powerful tool in your decision-making arsenal: information. 90% of making the right decision is gathering information. The more information you have, the more obvious the correct decision becomes. Information removes fear. We fear things in proportion to our ignorance of them. Now, as an EntreLeader, your goal isn't just to become a great decision maker. It's to teach your team how to make great decisions. The easiest and most efficient decisions are the ones you never have to make yourself. This is where the monkey on the shoulder analogy comes in. Imagine a team member walks into your office with a problem. Visualize them with a little monkey on their shoulder. When they say, "We have a problem," that monkey leaps from their shoulder onto your desk. If you let this happen all day, you'll soon be running a zoo. Your job as a leader is to make sure that when they leave your office, they take their monkey with them. At first, you teach them to never bring you a problem, without also bringing 3 potential solutions and a recommended course of action. You talk it through with them, showing them how you'd make the call. After a while, they start to see the patterns. They begin to think like you do. And then one day, the magic happens. You get an email from that team member. It outlines a problem, lists the possible solutions, and then tells you how they already solved it. That's the moment you officially start running a business, instead of the business running you. Now, perhaps the most important part of building a business that lasts is getting the people part right. Business would be easy if it weren't for people. This is why the hiring process is one of the most critical systems in your entire company. Most businesses are horrible at hiring. They rush the process because they're desperate for help. They have 1 or 2 quick interviews and bring someone on board, hoping for the best. Then they're shocked when that person doesn't care as much as they do. The fact that someone gets on your team who should never have been allowed in the building is your fault. And turnover is incredibly expensive, not just in lost productivity, but in morale. At Dave's company, they've developed a hiring process that's slow, deliberate, and incredibly thorough. It takes, on average, 90 days from first contact to actual hire. It involves anywhere from 6 to 15 interviews. Why? Because their goal is to find out someone's not a good fit before they hire them. Their human resources director has a great saying: "We have a 95% turnover rate before we hire them." The process has 12 components, but let's touch on a few of the most unusual and powerful ones. They use personality tests, like the DISC profile, not as a deal breaker, but as a tool to understand if a person's style fits the job, the team, and their leader. Are they a D for dominant, a hard-charging lion? An I for influencer, a playful otter? An S for steady, a loyal golden retriever? Or a C for compliant, a detailed beaver? There's no right or wrong personality, but you probably don't want a playful otter who hates details running your accounting department. And lazy, by the way, isn't a personality style. It's a character flaw. One of the simplest yet most profound steps is asking, do you like them? You're going to spend a lot of time with the people you hire. Life's too short to work with people you don't like. Another key is finding out if they light up when they talk about the work. Are they just looking for a job, or are they looking to join a crusade? People who are just looking for a paycheck will never be happy, and you'll never be able to pay them enough. But the most powerful and unusual part of their hiring process is the last interview, the spousal interview. Before they make a final offer, the department leader and their spouse take the candidate and their spouse out for an informal dinner. This does several amazing things. First, it honors the spouse. It tells them they're important to this decision. Second, it gives the spouse a chance to hear about the company culture and say, I don't think this is a good fit for him. They've had that happen, and it's saved them a world of trouble. But most importantly, the spousal interview helps you discover if your potential hire is married to crazy. Dave tells a story of a brilliant young candidate. When he told him the final step was a dinner with his wife, he got a screaming, cussing phone call from the wife just a few hours later. She couldn't believe she had to be involved in her husband's hiring. After she finally ran out of breath, she asked, laced with profanity, "Why do you do this spouse interview anyway?" To which he calmly replied, "To find people like you." That poor guy was not a candidate for a high-performance team. He was too busy doing maintenance on crazy at home. Once someone's hired, they go on a 90-day probation. But this isn't just for the company. The company is on probation with them. They're free to walk away if it's not a good fit. Now, what about when things go wrong? When a team member has to be let go? First, you must treat people with dignity. You're in control. You still have a job. They have neither. Be kind. There are only 3 reasons a team member fails. 1 is a leadership breakdown. Did you hire the wrong person? Did you fail to train them? Did you not give them clear goals? If it's a leadership failure, you fix the leadership, not fire the person. The second is a personal problem, a divorce, a sick child, a crisis. When this happens, you don't shoot your wounded. You treat your team like family, and they'll act like family. You extend grace, and you'll build loyalty that money can't buy. The third reason for failure is incompetence. And this is where most releases happen. If someone has an integrity problem, they lie, they steal, they're gone immediately. If they're just lazy, they have to go. But the most frustrating type of incompetence is the person who's nice. They do their work, but they just never ring the bell of excellence. Jim Collins, in his book Good to Great, gives us a powerful question to ask in this situation. Knowing what you know now, if you hadn't hired them yet, would you hire them again? If the answer is a quick, resounding no, then you know what you have to do. Letting them stay is what John Maxwell calls sanctioned incompetence, and it demoralizes your entire team. It sends the message that mediocrity is acceptable. When it's time to let someone go, you do it with clarity and kindness. You reprimand in private. You praise the person, hit the problem behavior directly, and then praise them again. You give them every opportunity to change. You never ever surprise someone with a release. By the time it happens, they should have seen it coming for months. You'll find that when you release someone who doesn't belong on your team, you're doing them a huge favor. You're setting them free to find a place where they can win. Let's shift gears and talk about marketing and sales. Henry Ford said, "Nothing happens until someone sells something." Ultimately, everyone is in sales. A teacher sells students on the value of learning. A parent sells their children on good habits. And in business, we sell a product or a service. But most people hate the idea of sales. They picture a pushy, manipulative used car salesman. Dave teaches that when done properly, selling is serving. It's nothing more than a transference of feeling. If you can make the customer feel the way you do about your product, they'll buy it. It's an honorable, noble profession. And it's not just the salespeople who are in sales. Everyone in your company is in sales. The person who answers the phone is in sales. The person who ships the product is in sales. The chef who makes the food hot and tasty is the biggest marketing arm of the restaurant. Every single step in the customer's experience is a sale. Every person who buys anything goes through 4 steps. If you understand these steps, you can serve them through the process instead of pushing them. The 4 steps are qualification, rapport, education, and close. Qualification is the most overlooked step. You're looking for a prospect who has the money, the time, the need or want, and the power to make the decision. Trying to sell to an unqualified person is frustrating for everyone. You wouldn't try to sell a steak to a vegetarian. Rapport is about building trust. People buy from people they like and trust. It's about finding common ground, looking people in the eye, having a firm handshake. It's about learning to sell to their personality style, not yours. If they're a detail person, give them details. If they're a big picture person, give them the bottom line. Education is the heart of serving. This is where you become a teacher, not a salesperson. You must know your product inside and out. You must know your competition. You must believe, with every fiber of your being, that your product is the best choice for them. If you wouldn't sell it to your own mother, don't sell it to anyone. And you don't sell products, you sell benefits. People don't buy a drill, they buy a hole in the wall. They don't buy a mattress, they buy a good night's sleep. You have to explain what your product does for them. Finally, there's the close. If you've done the first 3 steps properly, the close is the most natural thing in the world. You don't need pushy techniques or arm-twisting tricks. The customer will close themselves. Your job is to simply serve them by taking the order. Let's talk about the fuel for your business, money. In the fall of 2008, when the stock market was in free fall and the world was panicking, Dave found himself strangely calm. He wasn't afraid. Why? Because for years, he'd run his business on a set of simple, bulletproof financial principles. He had peace in the middle of the storm because he'd built his house out of brick, not straw. While other companies were shrinking, laying people off, and going bankrupt, his company was growing. They were hiring the great talent that was now on the street. They were buying things that were on sale for the first time in years. Warren Buffett says, "When the tide goes out, you can tell who is skinny dipping." These principles aren't complicated, but they're the opposite of what most of the world does. First, you must do the accounting. Most small businesses fail because of poor accounting. At the very least, you must have a separate checking account for your business. All business income goes in, and all business expenses come out. Your checkbook register becomes a simple profit and loss statement. You must stay ahead of your taxes. Set aside 25% of every dollar you take home in a separate savings account to pay your quarterly estimates. The tax man will kill your business if you don't. And you must have a budget. A budget is looking out the windshield. A profit and loss statement is looking in the rearview mirror. You need to do both, but you can't drive your business forward by only looking at where you've been. Next, you have to act your wage. Don't get so impressed with yourself that you start buying fancy toys and expensive furniture to add credibility. No deal was ever made or lost because of the couch in your lobby. That's just ego. The most profitable businesses are run by people who are frugal and hate waste. And for goodness sakes, don't make purchases just to save on taxes. Spending $10,000 you don't need to spend in order to save $2,500 in taxes is stupid math. If your CPA tells you to do that, fire your CPA. But the cornerstone principle, the one that goes against everything you've been taught, is this: run your business with no debt. Debt magnifies mistakes. And you will make mistakes. We all do. Most of our ideas are bad ideas. If you're standing on top of your mistakes, you're a success. If you're buried under them because you borrowed money to make them bigger, you're out of business. Debt kills cash flow. It increases risk exponentially. It makes you fragile. What about a line of credit for seasonal fluctuations? No, a well-run business saves up its own cash to become its own line of credit. What about large purchases for equipment or buildings? You have 4 options before you go into debt. 1. Pay cash by saving for it. 2. Rent until you can pay cash. 3. Outsource to someone who already owns the equipment. 4. Buy used. Slow and steady wins the race. It's far better to grow slowly and be stable than to grow quickly on debt and risk everything. The final financial principle is to save money. Wise people have stores of choice food and oil. Your business must have retained earnings. This cash serves 3 purposes. It's your emergency fund for when storms hit. It's your investment fund to grow the business without debt. And it's your opportunity fund to take advantage of great deals when they come along. Ultimately, the heart of a great company isn't its systems or its strategies. It's its people. And the measure of a company's heart is its unity. Think of a Belgian draft horse. One of these powerful animals can pull 8,000 pounds. But if you put two of them together who've been trained to work as a team, they don't pull 16,000 pounds, they pull 32,000 pounds. That's the power of synergy. That's the power of unity. A unified team of B players will beat a dysfunctional team of superstars almost every time. But unity doesn't happen by accident. It must be intentionally created, and it must be fiercely protected. There are 5 enemies that will destroy unity in your company. You must fight them to the death. The first is poor communication. We've covered this. If the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, you don't have a team. The second is a lack of shared purpose. If people don't share the same dream, mission, and goals, they'll never pull in the same direction. The third and most insidious is gossip. Gossip is the opposite of unity. It's cancer. In Dave's company, you're not allowed to gossip. You'll be warned once, and then you'll be fired. Problems and gripes must be handed up to leadership. Who can solve them? Problems handed down or sideways are, by definition, gossip. Eleanor Roosevelt said it best. Great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Small minds discuss people. Don't allow small minds to poison your culture. The fourth enemy is unresolved disagreements. Conflict paralyzes people. A leader must have the courage to step into the drama and help people resolve their issues. You don't have to be best friends, but you do have to respect each other. And the fifth enemy is sanctioned incompetence. When you allow someone to underperform, to have a bad attitude, or to be lazy, you demoralize all of your best people. It sends the message that excellence doesn't really matter. Now, all of this, the communication, the unity, the loyalty, is fueled by 2 powerful engines, recognition and inspiration. People yearn for approval, appreciation, attention, and affection. The first rule of recognition is to simply bother to do it. Start making a habit of catching people doing something right. A sincere compliment is so rare that it sets you apart as a leader. Give praise in front of people who matter to the person being recognized, their peers, their spouse, their parents. Recognition doesn't have to be expensive. A handwritten note, a t-shirt, or just a simple, public thank you can be more powerful than money. And what about inspiration? Real inspiration isn't about a single motivational speech. It's about the entire culture of your organization. It's the sum of everything we've talked about. A powerful vision, fair compensation, a crusader mentality, great storytelling, predictability from leadership, genuine passion, and leading by example. If you want your team to be inspired, you have to be inspiring. And this brings us to the final, and perhaps most liberating, part of the journey, delegation. This is the last chapter of the book for a reason. You can't delegate properly until you've built a culture and a team that's worthy of delegation. Delegation is like parenting a teenager. Visualize that you have a rope attached to them. The more they prove themselves trustworthy, the more you lengthen the rope. If they break that trust, the rope gets shorter. The magic formula for delegation is trust. You must trust a team member's integrity and their competency. And trust takes time to build. Integrity is about wholeness. Is the person the same at work, at home, and with their friends? Or are they fractured? Competency is about their ability to do the task, and to do it within your culture. You never surrender 100% of the oversight. You never expect what you don't inspect. But as trust grows, your inspection changes from micromanaging tasks to guiding concepts. And you must never, ever give someone responsibility without also giving them the authority to perform. That's one of the fastest ways to destroy a leader and demoralize a team. The journey of an EntreLeader is to build a business that's bigger than you, a business that can run and thrive and serve even when you're not there. And the only way to do that is to master the art of the rope, to learn how to trust, how to empower, and how to let go. When you step back and look at the entirety of EntreLeadership, what you see is a blueprint for building a business with a soul. In a world that often celebrates a win-at-all-costs mentality, Dave Ramsey presents a compelling and proven alternative. He argues that the way you win matters just as much as the win itself. The most powerful thread running through this entire book is the idea that people matter most. It's a simple truth, but one that's so often forgotten in the frantic pursuit of profit. Dave shows us that treating your team with dignity, loyalty, and generosity isn't just a nice thing to do. It's a strategic advantage. It's the secret ingredient that creates a culture of unity, passion, and excellence. He dismantles the myth that you have to be a ruthless, cutthroat operator to succeed in business. Instead, he paints a picture of a leader who's both strong and kind, decisive and humble, passionate and principled. The EntreLeader isn't a boss who pushes, but a leader who pulls. They don't manage units of production. They mentor and empower human beings. What I find most refreshing is the emphasis on common sense, timeless wisdom. There are no complicated formulas or trendy management fads here. It's about doing the basics and doing them with excellence. Have a dream, write down your goals, manage your time, stay out of debt, treat people right. These are the kinds of principles your grandfather would have taught you, and they're just as relevant today as they were 100 years ago. This book is a powerful reminder that you don't have to choose between making a profit and making a difference. You can do both. You can build a company that's wildly successful and a place where people love to work. You can create a business that serves your customers, enriches your team, and fills your own life with a deep sense of purpose and satisfaction. So, if you're a young person with a dream of starting something of your own one day, what can you do, right now, to start becoming an EntreLeader? First, start with yourself. You are the lid. Start reading, start learning, write down your personal mission statement. Ask yourself, what do I do? How do I do it? And most importantly, why? Second, master the basics of your own life. Create a budget. Learn to manage your time with a prioritized to-do list. Practice the art of setting and achieving small goals. The same principles that build a great business will first build a great life. And third, start practicing servant leadership wherever you are, whether it's in a school club, a part-time job, or just within your group of friends. Learn to listen more than you talk. Learn to praise people when they do something right. Learn to put the needs of the team above your own. The journey to becoming an EntreLeader isn't about a title or a position. It's about a choice to lead with integrity, to serve with passion, and to build something that truly matters. That was a summary of EntreLeadership by Dave Ramsey. We've certainly walked through the main hallways of this incredible playbook today, but a summary is like looking at a map of a great city. The real adventure, the real discovery, happens when you decide to walk the streets yourself. It's in the small alleys and hidden courtyards, the individual stories, the specific examples, that the true character of the place is revealed. This summary is your map, designed to show you if this is a city worth exploring. If any of the ideas we discussed today spark something in you, I encourage you to grab a copy of the book. Reading it isn't just about absorbing information. It's about letting these principles seep into the way you think and lead. The link to the book is in the description below. Also, if this journey through EntreLeadership has been valuable to you, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe. It tells us we're on the right path, and it ensures you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book. Let's keep growing and leading together.